Now I'm going to show you how to overhaul a bike headset. I've already removed the wheel, so I'm going to go ahead and disengage this brake here.
Don't think that my heart doesn't break for you. Please imagine that you still have your child. Would you let anyone take them away from you? That hasn't been decided. Everybody here wants the same thing, aren't they?
Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and remove the stem from the headset. So just go ahead and loosen this screw up here. And this should slide right out there. Okay, now we'll just go ahead and hang that off to the side there. Now we're going to go ahead and remove this. So get a big crescent wrench or big wrench and turn the... Okay, set that aside. We'll slide this part a little off. Looks like there's another washer here. So we'll slide this little washer off here, set that aside. And often there's another faced nut on here, but this has got like knurled edges. So we'll just go ahead and unscrew this. Let's spray this with a little bit of WD-40, kind of loosen this stuff up here. This old dried grease here. There we go, that's much better. And there's some bearings right there. Okay, now that I have the little nut off the top there, this will slide down. And there's the other bearings here. Okay, so here's the parts I took off, and there's some bearings right down here, so I'm just going to go ahead, slide those off, and I'll pop the bearings out of here. This little cup here. I got my can of paint thinner here, so I'm going to go ahead and take these parts, dump them into my can of paint thinner, which I've used many times, so it's very dirty. And I'm going to throw these bearings in here too. And there's slightly different sizes. The one that was smaller went to the top. The one that was larger was on the bottom. So we want to keep track of that. So put those in there. And while those are in there, I'm going to go ahead, get a little bit of paint thinner on a rag here. And I'm going to go ahead and clean up all this old grease on the fork here. Definitely want to clean out these threads, which were pretty gunked up. Okay, and you want to go ahead and check the bearing race down there. Make sure it all looks good, no cracks or anything like that. It looks fine. Go out, pull out a piece out of here, clean it off. Okay, now that I got these pieces all cleaned up, I'm going to take these bearings up to the local bike shop and have them matched and replaced. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and clean this up. I got a rag with some paint thinner on it. So I'm going to go ahead and clean out this bottom cup here. Any grease out of there. And then there's a little race up here, a little bearing race up there, so I'm going to go ahead and clean that off. And clean down inside there a little bit. And then while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and just clear off this stem a little bit. Clean that off. Now we got everything cleaned up here. We're going to go ahead and put it all back together. So we're going to take a little bit of grease, and this is just kind of generic grease. I'm going to put grease up around in this cup down here on the bottom. I'm going to put some grease up in this cap that goes along the top here, this little knurled one. Just run around in the races in there where the bearings are going to go. I have the two new bearings. There's one that's a larger ring with larger bearings and a smaller, slightly smaller ring with smaller bearings. The one with the larger bearings is going to go on the bottom, and the one with the smaller bearings is going to go on the top. So I'm just going to go ahead and rub a little bit of grease around those. Okay, so I've got the fork here. There's a race down here. I'm going to take these, the larger ring here. The flat side is going to go up so that the part with the little fingers curled down is going to go down towards the race. So I'll just go ahead and drop that down. So now this is going to go ahead and just slide up here like this. Boom. Now these other bearings here, again, there's a flat side and a part with the fingers kind of curled down. The fingers are going to go down towards this race there. And I'm going to take this little knurled cap, slide it on there, and thread it onto the top of the fork. And I'm going to tighten that, and then it'll hit to where everything's tight there, and I'll back it off a little bit. Okay, I want it to move nice and smoothly there. Okay. Now I'm going to take this little spacer here. It's going to go up above there. There's a little part that comes in there, and there's a little notch on the back side of the fork there. That little part that sticks in is going to go into there. Then comes this little part that was with the brake. Again, it's got like a little part that sticks in. That's going to go in that little notch on the back of the forks. Make sure you put it the right way so that this wire comes down that way. And then I'm going to take this little lock nut. It's going to go on top there. And I'm going to just thread that on. And I don't want to tighten it down too much at this point. Just finger tight. Okay, I'll check how tight that is. And I can tighten this a little bit. The knurled one. I want it to move freely, but not bind. Then I can tighten this little knock nut up top. And feel this. I want it to move freely and not bind. So I tighten that little top part there. Like that. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead, maybe back this off just a little bit, and then go ahead and tighten this lock nut. And again, check this. It's a little stiff, so I'll loosen this just a little bit. Then turn the little knurled one, loosen it, and then tighten the lock nut again. And check it. Moves nice and freely. Feel for play. There's a little play, so I'm going to loosen this. Tighten this back down just a little bit. Then tighten the lock nut. Again, that feels good. So you want to get it to where it moves freely, but without binding, and there's no play in there. So now, to go ahead and put the handlebars back on, make sure you get the wires on the right side of the stem, however they were to begin with. That goes there. I can tighten this down temporarily, because I'll readjust it after I get everything put together. Reattach the brake here. There's that. Close this down. Now I just need to put the wheel back on and get everything all adjusted and done.